Welcome to the first episode of Digitally Yours, a new series by itbrandingity.com, where we will be engaging with key stakeholders in the digital marketing sector to better understand the trends that are driving the growth and investments in this country. The series will also bring the perspective of brand custodians on how they are planning their mega initiatives around the digital medium. Our first season consists of 6 episodes and is themed around Playbook for Customer Retention, which is brought to you in partnership with CleverTech. As the world joins forces and join hands today to fight the COVID-19 crisis, businesses are connected and concerned over customer optimism. The two functions of customer loyalty, that is trust and confidence, are being put to test. In this environment, customer behavior and patterns have changed immensely. The time period of the term lifetime value has become quite fluid. And as a matter of fact, customer lifetime value as a marketing metric has become least appreciated for marketers. However, as they say, with every crisis, there comes a window of opportunity. And this global crisis of COVID-19 has truly brought businesses and their focuses on customer moments that matter. By putting on customers first and their interests first, this can be the time for a brand and business to lead. In the current landscape, the standard is to modify your business interaction from low touch to no touch. Thus, the mobile approach has taken the prime position for all marketing channels. Accordingly, it makes sense to have an effective mobile marketing strategy in place that ensures high engagement level from your consumers. In the session today, we'll try and understand what works in the real world and what can really become the playbook for every marketer as far as customer retention is concerned. Today, we are honored to be joined by an esteemed panel of professionals who have been championing the cause of customer retention and customer lifetime value for their brands and businesses. It's my great honor to introduce you to Mr. Abhishek Srivastav, Director, Customer Growth and Retention at Flipkart. I'm also joined by Mr. Gagan Tailiani, Vice President, Digital at Card Deco, Mr. Rana Vishal Singh, Head of Growth Marketing at Josh, Mr. Sachin Vasishta, Digital Marketing Head at Paisa Bazaar, Mr. Dinesh Joshi, AVP and Head of Monetization at Jagran New Media, and Mr. Jasmeet Singh Gandhi, Head of Global Business Development at CleverTech. So welcome, gentlemen, and it's a great honor and great privilege to have you with us today. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Before we start and dive deep into the subject of customer retention and customer lifetime value, I would want to come to all of you and understand from your perspective, how do you summarize the importance of customer lifetime value in the current business landscape as far as your category is concerned? And what are the kind of tangible benefits that you derive or that you seek to derive from your customer retention exercises? So we can start with Abhishek first. So Abhishek, you represent Flipkart, which is a behemoth in the e-commerce sector. So how do you summarize the importance of customer lifetime value in your business?
Sure. See, customer lifetime value is closely correlated with retention on the platform, right? Essentially, your entire customer funnel, what kind of leaky bucket that you have, right? So it is very, very important. It is actually the center stone of how we design growth initiatives, especially at Flipkart, right? So that has been built into the DNA of our the strategy that we do at Flipkart, as well as with the current climate, right? Is something that you mentioned as a focus point. So what we've seen is with the influx of customers that has happened with COVID coming in, right? So this is something that has served us really, really well, right? So I think, as we all know, reacquiring a customer acquisition is like at least 3 to 5 times more expensive than getting a customer to stay onto the platform, right? So we use a lot of data science to figure out what are the nudges to give to the customer, to egg on to the next purchase, and how do we increase the lifetime value of him by providing him the value and delightful experience on the platform, right? So this DNA of using LTV across all the programs is something that has served really, really well in the current climate as well.
Correct. You have rightly mentioned about the post-pandemic scenario, and this is what leads to me, in this discussion where we are seeing a sea of change in customer behavior, and especially, that goes into the planning of customer retention. So, Sachin, I would want to come to you and understand from your perspective and your sector specific, planning as far as customer retention and customer lifetime value is concerned.
Thanks, Satrajit. Actually, first, how important customer lifetime value is for a business. We can easily say that the only goal of an organization or an objective of an organization should be to enhance and increase the customer lifetime value. That should be the cornerstone for the strategy, the core strategy, be it marketing, product, even sales, right? It's the bread and butter of an organization, because acquiring new customers are very expensive, especially in today's competitive world where everyone is paying or bidding higher on even on Google, Facebook, or whatever channel you use. So it's getting more and more expensive to acquire new customers. The best bet any business has in this scenario is retaining its own customers, right? Having said that, the kind of business we are in, in the average time where a person would take a home loan would be, maybe a person would on an average would take 1 or 1.2 loans in his entire lifetime. If I come to a personal loan, maybe you would take a personal loan on an average 2 or 3 times in your entire lifetime. And similarly for a credit card, there might be some connoisseurs who would have more than 5 6 credit card, but the average number of credit cards a person would have is usually 2 or 3, right, depending on the needs. So it's very difficult, I would say, it in our kind of a business to actually calculate and justify the customer lifetime value. But that does not mean that customer retention is not important for us. Why? Because still there are cross product uh, demand. Second thing is word of mouth. If you retain a customer, if a customer is happy, even though if he is not coming back to you because he is not requiring or needing those services or those products as of now, there would be at least 10 people he would go and say, that I took a loan from Paisa Bazaar. The process was very easy. If you ever need a loan, just go to Paisa Bazaar. Similarly, if I took a credit card from Paisa Bazaar, I compared 50 plus credit card, the experience was very good. So customer, that's the reason customer retention is core to us.
That's interesting because you mentioned about your category where customer retention, the definition of customer retention is slightly different from what we see, from other brands. So interesting inputs indeed. So I would like to go to Gagan here. Gagan, in your category, right? It might be very similar to what Sachin is seeing in his category, or is it a bit different there?
So yeah, what Sachin mentioned was quite matching with auto. Now the problem with auto is it's spread across. There's a lot of offline transactions happening, and there is a lot of online transactions happening. Auto, if you see just a year or two back, it was all offline. People were doing research online, but the buying was happening offline. Same for used car. Now, when we have so many different touch points and across multiple platforms, it's difficult to figure out the one customer, right, where he's traveling, But due to pandemic also, and what we actually hold for future as a company, it became very important for us that we track customer lifetime value. And another reason for that is we're the biggest auto portal in India, right? And what we want to become is one-stop solution for any personal mobility, right? So, and I'll explain more in the later part of the panel. But the point is that here, like Sachin mentioned, the CLV can span up to 20 to 30 years, right? It's not for a month or a few weeks, right? Every customer who's going to buy a car will sell it eventually and buy another one, right? So the trust building is really important. And how do you engage the customer for over the next 10, 12, 15 years with that level of servicing is an important for us. Now, the good thing is that maths is behind us, right? The maths is very clear. Direct and positive impact on revenue is there. Uh, Again, as Sachin mentioned, we're a niche vertical. So figuring out the right customer is also expensive, right? The cost of acquisition is very high. So if you don't have these parameters in place, we'll be putting money at one end of the funnel and getting it leaked from the other end, and we're never going to gain profitability, right? So yeah, we're building a business for tomorrow, right? It's, as I told you, it's 15, 30 years that a same customer can stay with us. So these are important parameters for us. And also because we are into various services, and I'll touch base on this later, but yes, just to summarize, it's very, very important because the product value is very high. It can range from 2 lakhs to 2 crores to 3 crores also. So that too much at stake if you don't really cater to consumer needs or value. Yeah.
Correct. That's an interesting take because it's talking about niche sectors, right? And how for niche sectors, customer lifetime value becomes much more important because you have to grab that customer for a lifetime. In repeat purchases as well, like, as you mentioned, right? A car, I mean, is not for forever for anybody over here. Great. So, Vishal, I would want to, come to you and understand from Josh's perspective, right? It's a very millennial brand to be, as they say, right? And it's being consumed and it's being used by, the Gen Zs of the world, right? Uh, how does customer retention or how does customer, lifetime values definition change when you consider something like a millennial or a Gen Z audience?
Thanks, Satyajit. Before I answer your question, I'll just like to take a moment to introduce Josh because it's the youngest brand in the panel today. We are a leading player in the short video space. Although we have 50 plus million MAUs, DAUs already, we would love to scale and become almost equal to internet because our dream is to get into every nook and corner of Bharat, right? With that said, I think the definition of lifetime value or the focus on retention for any business as it matters today is extremely first principles driven and is extremely it's common for all, right? I don't think it differs in terms of the importance that you lay on retention, because I think it very, as somebody has very rightly said, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. I think how businesses could unlock compounding is by means of focusing on retention, right? Because because all businesses start with acquiring a lot of customers, and they do a very shoddy job of providing the right kind of experience, and hence a lot of customers churn out in their journey. But what happens is the true dream of any brand, in the shortest time span possible, they would want to be run by only repeat customers, and as very rightly said by Abhishek or Sachin, very only by referrals, right? So referrals and repeat is the dream of any organization, because that way you are sorted, your revenue streams are sorted, and you need not spend on acquiring more customers. So I think that as a first principles definition for any business, it makes sense, and it is rightly so for Josh as well. So we are very early in our stage, so we are obviously acquiring by the truckloads, but we would love to build a very, very strong retention engine as well at the same time, so that we are less dependent on acquiring users every day.
Correct. It's interesting that you mentioned about being the youngest brand on the panel, right? So from the youngest brand on the panel to probably one of the more established and oldest brand, Dinesh, I would want to come to you and understand from Jagran's point of view, right? Jagran, as we all know, is one of the more most established brands as far as regional content and regional news is concerned, or language news is concerned. What's your point of view of customer retention and customer lifetime value as far as a media brand is concerned?
So as a publisher, so our user behaves a little differently, I would like to say. So we are not focusing on the paid users, but yes, it's more of search and direct, or kind of social traffic we get, right? So it's more about, you can say, loyalty and brand level. Then you need to retain. Just make retention. Retention comes secondly. The primary is definitely the search user and the loyal user and the brand user who are coming on your board. So with my knowledge, what we have seen as of now, it's all about engagement funnel, right? So first of all, audience development objective should be set with the revenue growth and business performance in mind, because it's all about, bread and butter is advertising or a subscription model for any publisher these days, right? So whether it's a subscription revenue model you're talking about or ad revenue you're talking about. So our main focus here in Jagran is user engagement, right? Especially focusing on incremental of visit frequency, visit depth, which can help to increase advertising revenue goals, right? So we track the user from the initial stage, like, creating different kind of buckets. So it's a brand lover, loyal reader, then casual readers. There are 3 buckets what we have driving as of now. So loyal readers and brand lovers are categorized in one funnel. And the second one is a casual reader, which is another funnel we have created. So to calculate the reader engagement score, we measure, visit per reader, or visit per read per visit, or visit length. So that these are the nuances which we are taking care of as of now. The most valuable traffic sources for any publication can be taken from the GA, because usually what we are driving all these focuses. You can track, any kind of a user from GA, and you can make that kind of, your revenue and kind of editorial or, product kind of a monthly or weekly or yearly kind of a dependency and all. Other one is CRE, content recommendation and engine, which is a kind of driving user engagement and content consumption, which is doing very good for Jagran now. The other one is optimizing user onboarding flow with navigation. The better navigation is, the better the revenue part. Definitely, the user will going to traveling all these sites categories. The more the user traveling, the more the PV and the more the revenue definitely will be driving for us. Most important as of now, what we have seen is no push notification nowadays. These days, be it desktop, be it mobile web, or in-app messages, right? Customizing notification, personalizing your approach when sending a notification like breaking news, any event, not generic, but definitely as per the bucketing you have created in the backend. Maybe on interest behavior, you are sending, as per the notification, as per the user behavior, because bombarding a lot of notification is not going to help, and kind of a authentication of push notification will definitely engage your user on the go. And that's how we have seen with our partnership with what we are doing as of now. Offering perks to engage users, like deal value, coupons, or loyalty programs. That's also converting a user into loyal readers. Whatever casual users are there, they are converting loyal, and then definitely we are pushing to subscription model, right? Personalizing user experience using gamification to increase engagement and all. So basic idea is, the more the engagement, the better is the revenue. That's overall, engagement is driving for Jagran. So that's how overall revenue also, if not from the casual reader, definitely from the brand level and loyal reader, and that is pushing for definitely on the subscription side. So both ways we are tracking users on that way. Yeah.
Right, that's interesting, because as a publisher, right? As a publisher, we are also a publisher, but we obviously cater to a different set of readers, right? So it varies on what kind of people you you cater to, and their preferences, and how do you plan, keeping their preferences in mind. Great. So we can. Yeah, you wanted to add something. Sorry.
Yeah, definitely. So as you said, like, that's a city wise, or maybe on the kind of a state wise, or maybe on a tier 2, tier 3. So we are making that kind of categories also, or we are going that niche also, so that we can send that kind of a proper news or relevant news to the user, so that we can increase the overall PV or engagement behavior. That's how we are working as of now. Yeah.
Great inputs actually from we really have a diverse panel of brands and sectors today. This leads me to my next question to Jasmeet. And Jasmeet, in your experience of working across brands and across sectors, we have a cross sector representation today in the panel, and we have seen how customer retention and customer lifetime value, the definition of that term differs in every business, right? So in your experience of working across brands and across sectors, what are some of the out of the box customer retention plans and activities that you have seen from brands? And if you can throw some light on how do brands today in the post-pandemic world look at this aspect in a totalitarian way?
Well, thanks for the opportunity. Before we start, I think I would like to thank all the panelists for taking time out and speaking to us and sharing their valuable insights. Thank you very much. Yes, we do work across a lot of brands and across verticals. there is no out of the box. I think each business and each partner or each client has their own unique set of requirements based on which category they come from, how much competition do they have in this space, okay? How early are they in the cycle? Are they a digital first company? Are they a existing large brand who's transforming into digital, etc.? So there are a whole lot of factors that affect strategy. Some of the points that the panelists have made, of course, are like music to our ears. So, for example, yes, cost of acquisition has really gone up, and therefore retention becomes a primary source of contribution towards lifetime value. And we like to say in our category, retention is the new acquisition, and that's coming true for a lot of businesses. So the pandemic has definitely created a great opportunity for a lot of businesses, okay, who are, say, digital first, for example. So Flipkart or Paisa Bazaar, etc. Digital first models which rely heavily on data, heavily on segmentation, creating, identifying channels, creating campaigns. What they definitely need is a consolidated tool which would help them to understand who their customer is and what they are doing. And under the hood, of course, a lot of things that go on within that, right? So what has happened really is that marketing has become, or product has become, the marketing phase of businesses. So as you said earlier, right? So providing those customer experience moments has become a very, very vital part of this whole journey. And I think a lot of emphasis, if you look at all the panelists who are with us today, and the consumer experiences they put out through their digital assets, they are amazing, right? They have evolved. And the best part is there is no perfect product. It's always in work in progress. So you keep evolving with the customer, you keep evolving with the times. So that has changed. Okay. Most importantly, understanding the customer and their diverse needs has changed, because you have such a large influx of users now across all categories. And some categories which are both offline and online need to understand, cross-channel behavior of their customers. And that's where, platforms like ours come into play. So, providing a 360-degree view of who your customers are, how you can actively segment them, how you can actually create personalized campaigns for each segment, or in fact, each user, which has come across in, through most of the panelists and what they're saying. So yes, I think a whole lot has changed. And most importantly, if you look at all the businesses and all the panelists who we have today, each one of them has a different rhythm of business with their customers, right? The frequency with which they use your product. And I'm sure when they do their strategies, so like Sachin said, it depends on what product you're buying, right? Is it a home loan? Is it a personal loan? Is it a credit card? Depending on what is your frequency of interaction will drive the engagement strategy. And from there evolves the retention strategy. So, so each business has its own nuance. From the outside, it may look like digital marketing, but it's very different. I can assure you of that.
Right. Interesting that you mentioned about the change that every business is seeing. Especially when it is, when it comes to customers' demands and and aligning that customer demand and with the business perspective and business goal, and thus creating retention and lifetime value. So Abhishek, this leads me to the next question, and I would want to come to you and ask this. Flipkart has been at the cusp of customer revolution, so as to say, right? Flipkart has been driving the customer online, and the e-commerce revolution in India was quite rightly started and seen by Flipkart, and it's still one of the leading brands here. So just as Jasmeet mentioned about the changes, right? So in the previous world order, right? What used to be defined as or what used to be connoted as customer retention, how has it changed in the current world order? And if you consider, like, 5 years back and now, so how are customer retention policies or exercises different as far as Flipkart is concerned?
Yeah, great question actually. So what we have seen is that customer behavior has also changed over time, right? And your product strategy and your retention strategy has to move with the times to adapt to that, right? So especially over the last couple of years, what we have seen is that there has been a much more greater emphasis on value that a customer requires from, say, online platforms, right? And this value is not just pricing, right? So value actually means different things for different customers, right? It could be combination of, say, a delightful experience of shopping. It could be price. It could be, say, shipping speed. It could be the personalization experience that a platform gives you, right? So what we have seen is that combination of value and combination of engagement, right? So a very valuable engagement, so that even if the customer is not in the, say, taking the Flipkart example, right? Is not in the purchase frame of mind right now. How can you stay very top of mind and very relevant for that customer, so that the customer builds a strong affinity of Flipkart, and that is the first port of call that happens, right? Whenever he decides to essentially say browse for a purchase, get more information for a product, make his purchase decision, right? So essentially, these are the two pillars, right? Value and a constant engagement with the customers, so that, and this engagement has to be very valuable, right? So it is not a one size fits all sort of strategy that you can have. So it becomes very imperative for you to get more deeper into what are the different types of customers, right? Like dividing them into various cohorts. What does value stand for each customer? What does engagement stand for each customer? Gamified experiences, personalized experiences, right? So over the last few years, and this is a pivot that Flipkart has taken, and I think a lot of brands have taken as well, right? So rather than having a pure, say, one size fits all approach or a pure marketing approach or things like that, it is an end-to-end experience, right? What is the right value can you personalize for each customer, and can you make the experience delightful, both pre and post shopping funnel, right? So that is something, and emphasis on loyalty programs as well, right? So this is something that is an industry trend that we have seen right now, and we have pivoted on this for the last couple of years.
Interesting indeed, because so it definitely says how customers' demands are changing, and it is on a rapid change these days, and for businesses it's basically to be on the toes and change their policies and execution plan as such. So Gagan, you rightly mentioned about how customer retention and customer loyalty basically is very different when you consider Card Deco or the auto segment. So basically, I wanted to understand from you the lifetime value, right? And we spoke about how the focus on lifetime value has basically becoming more important for brands now, right? So you mentioned about repurchases happening, and how do you ensure that if one purchases now, he's attached to your brand, and whenever there is a repurchase in his life, he refers to your brand.
Yeah, so I think in our category, retention is one of the most difficult things because it's the need-based thing. It's not everyday thing, and retaining him for years is also difficult. So what we did is, as I earlier spoke about, is that we are creating one-point shop for all personal mobility needs. Now, what does personal mobility include? It's just not a car, right? There are a lot of activities that happen. So first is we discover about the car that we want to buy. Second is we do test drive, right? Third is we look at offers that are running. We go to dealers. Then we look at the car insurance to begin with, right? Once we purchase the car, the second is usage, right? You have to go to service center. If there is any accident or there is let's say even a flat tire, you need assistance, right? And then again, after a year, you need insurance renewal. Then let's say after 3-4 years, this is happening for 3-4 years, then you choose to sell your car. So you're again in the market to sell your car and then obviously buy a new car. Lifestyle improves, your car changes. In India, car is equivalent to lifestyle, right? We all know that. If I get a promotion, the first thing I'll do is, can I get a new car? Can I upgrade my car? Even if it's 2 year old, right? That's what is happening. So we call this infinity loop. That means that a new customer will become a used car customer, and a used car customer will become a new customer. So if I'm only doing selling of new car, I cannot retain a customer for, let's say, 8 years, 6 years, right? But I am doing everything. Now, Car Deco actually helps you to do everything. You are looking for car finance, there's a separate business unit for that. You're looking for insurance, we have Insurance Deco, right? You want to sell cars, there is Gadi Store, which helps you sell cars. So what we are trying to do is build a loyalty program around it so that people stick with us. And of course, at the back of a value, as other people also mentioned, that value is very important. Also, this entire journey involves a lot of trust because we're talking about high value ticket, right? If somebody wants to sell his 40 lakh car, he will just not go to anyone, right? He need to make sure that the paperwork is complete. He doesn't want to get a call after 1 year that you had a car or your car is in an accident, your name is still in the RC, right? You'll be like scared what really happened. And this has happened with me in the past. So you go to a trusted partner, and that's where we are trying to build this entire ecosystem of retention, merging with value and giving them services throughout the journey of person mobility, whether it's a used car, new car, or any other services they require. And that's what our vision is also for the next 6-7 years. Yeah.
Great. That's interesting because you are basically saying about assisting the customer through his journey, and even after he becomes the customer, you stay with them, right? And basically enrich your experience. Sachin, in your category as well, right? You rightly mentioned that the customer might just go off after availing one loan or one financial assistance. How do you basically ensure that he stays on, he comes back, and how do you engage with the customer?
So basically, like I mentioned, even though the need is not frequent, I would want to retain these people because a home loan customer would tomorrow take a credit card. A credit card customer tomorrow might need a personal loan and so on and so forth, right? Now, most of my products are need based, right? I cannot proactively reach out to you and say, okay, we have a good offer on personal loan. Do you want to take it? It's not like that. Whenever you'll need a personal loan, you will be in market. If you do not need a personal loan, you will be off the market, right? But there is a common thing in the customers of all lending products, which is very important and largely overlooked, right? That thing is called credit score. We realized it a few years back. We know the awareness on this topic of credit score was very low in the country. And just to give you an example, people tend to used to apply, and they still do, right? When they are in need, they usually apply at 2-3 places at once, right? I will apply to you as well, to just me, to Gagan. If all of you, 3 of you are from different banks, I'll give my papers to all three of you that I need a loan, please get me a loan. What will happen? All of you will log in my files, and I'll have three inquiries on my credit report. Each one of you would know that I am a credit hungry customer. I am desperate, right? And what will happen there are times when none of you would want to give me a loan, primarily because of this reason, right? So people do not know that, and the awareness. If I go back 4-5 years, when we launched India's largest, credit awareness initiative, we call it Free Credit Score. Now there are a number of other players who are offering free credit score. We started it first, right? That was primarily because of two reasons. We wanted to make our customers aware what credit score is, why is it important, and especially if you're seeking a lending product. Second thing is we wanted to retain these customers, right? So that's why we launched free credit score. We launched it with all 4 bureaus. So if you go to any other player in the market, they might be offering a free credit score, but only with 1 or 2 bureaus. We have it with all 4 bureaus, so that you can compare it and see if there is any discrepancy. right? Another thing is we refresh your credit score on a monthly basis. So if your credit score has gone up or gone down, because if you are a credit score customers, you might not come to me, to take another credit card, but you are paying those bills, and how the payment of those bills are impacting your credit score, impacting your entire credit health. You would definitely want to know that okay, I was 2 days late in making my payment. How much has how much my score has gone down, or I am very good, I am doing my payments timely, has my credit score improved, right? To make you able to do that, we have this product called free credit score, which is the center point of our customer retention program.
Correct. That's interesting that you have shared some anecdotes about the best practices that have actually helped you.
One good thing is, so if you are a good customer, you have a good credit score, you're coming back to us, basis that information. We also give offers, so you would come to Paisa Bazaar, you'll check your credit health, see your credit report, and also you would also know that okay, I have these few offers on personal loan, credit cards, home loans, and other lending products. Whenever I need something, I'll just come back to Paisa Bazaar and avail these. So that's an added benefit.
Correct. So it's interesting because you mentioned about some of the anecdotes on how customer retention and how planning on customer retention and best practices that you have worked on. So on that note, I would want to come to Dinesh and understand from from a publisher point of view, some best practices that Dinesh, you can share as Jagran is practicing in terms of customer retention and customer loyal for life.
So yeah, as I mentioned previously, so we have created kind of three buckets: casual, loyal, and brand. Right. So definitely, how it works, the casual, someone who visits your site once in the last 30 days, right? The casual one is coming and going, right? Maybe from the social or maybe another, maybe search and all. A loyal reader, someone who your site is visiting 14 times in a month, and that's how it is for him. And the brand level is a kind of 15 and more than that. So what happens mostly brand level and the loyal, they are mostly kind of a 1 or 2% or maybe 3% of your overall users, but they are giving kind of a 20% of page because they keep engaging your site. They are a brand level or loyal, and they will read, and that's the kind of engagement they are driving. That's like if they are driving engagement, that's how your revenue also drives from these engagement metrics, because the overall ECPM, the kind of ad you are running on those metrics, right, that will increase definitely. So what we are trying to do, we are pushing our casual reader into loyal one and loyal into brand one, like and the brand into subscription one. That's how we are pushing overall. We have emphasis on these areas. But I can give you an example from our Jagran Josh, which is a kind of education site. And so our core audience, it's a millennial site on Generation X who prefer to come on the consume content, right? On the move, or mostly from the mobile site, where mobile site they are approaching, or maybe a handset, because it's a largely kids or maybe K-12 from nursery to kind of college going or plus 12 and all, right? So they prefer kind of a end of the day and a weekly rest or current affairs or any other bit site content. They are consuming that kind of a content on mobile site because it's on go. Wherever you are, you can just open and you can read and all, right? So we target our audience early on the customer life site. It's a K2 space for us. If we nurture them through college, job, all these stages, complete the customer LTV cycle through all these targeted first offering. If you can see our Jagran just here, all these papers, you can download, be it MBA, be it class 12, or maybe 10, or lower the category you can go. So long-term success for us is depend on the strong audience development and strong reader engagement. So that's how for Jagran Josh as well as for Jagran, we are trying our user engagement.
Great. You rightly mentioned about mobile, and it's the next big frontier as far as marketers are concerned. The entire subject of marketing is concerned. This brings me to Vishal. So Vishal, Josh being basically a mobile first product, right? How do you see the importance of mobile in the entire, context of customer lifetime value and customer retention? Since you are a mobile product first, so I'm sure this is one of the most important mediums for you.
Certainly, as you rightly put, we are not only mobile first, we are mobile only. And for us, actually, it's in complete contrast to a lot of discussions that were happening. Right, we get with lowering attention spans. We get hardly a 2-3 minute opportunity by a user to decide whether he's getting entertained in a short video on a short video app or not. Right. So right from the moment that the user installs the app, our ML models have to take over to be able to ensure that with every card or every video that is presented to him, whether he is engaged, whether he is disliking the video, or whether like similar pieces of content have to be served, or a completely different genre of content has to be served. So for us, it is really to crunch all the decision making, and the opportunity to engage the user is really in that in those 2-3 minutes. And given the short video space is only 15 seconds videos, so you have to, and the user hardly gives you any perceptible signals, right? The user does not tell you that he is searching for a certain product, right? There are no intent signals whatsoever. The only things that we have to permute and combine on are the region of the user, the kind of phone model that he's using, the connection speed he is on, right? And the language that they are selecting to consume their content on. So for us, it is a very, very small, very tightly packaged, basically an entire funnel that we have to build. And we have to, and how we attack that is by being very, very preventive about our approach, right? So we are very proactive and do not allow the user to churn. So we capture our signals of user engagement very, 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 very smartly. And for us, and they are seamlessly deployed into marketing campaigns, so that if the user is not sufficiently engaged, we would try and showcase him the plethora of content that he's missed watching on the app, and we would try and bring him back so that he at least has the opportunity to evaluate the plethora of content we have before he makes a decision to switch. So yeah, it's all about looking at various variables that we get without the user explicitly giving them to us, and permuting and combining them, and hence ML is the only thing that comes to rescue.
I think it's quite true for all the sectors here. So basically, Jasmeet, I would want to come to you and understand in basically your experience of working with brands across sectors and categories. How do you see the importance of mobile and as Vishal mentioned, ML becoming more important for brands and businesses going forward?
So yeah, I think having heard everybody, uh, you know, it's really clear that retention or engagement strategy per se is largely dependent on both your business model and your urgency to engage. So for example, what Vishal was saying, from the first minute onwards, without any great depth of user information, how do you ensure that I'm engaging you, right? Because the business model is very clear. It's user growth oriented, and ad dependent largely, and it's a volume game. So the more acquisitions and more minutes spent and repeat visits is what will ensure their success, right? And compare this, in contrast with, say, what Gagan does, okay, where his lifetime is defined as 15 years, and therefore the urgency to engage from first minute is important, but carrying that forward on a daily basis may not be that important. Okay. Whereas for Abhishek, it's a mix, right? He definitely needs a repeat purchase from the same user, but it's built over a period of time. So, the customer understanding or retention strategy is not what do you call a short-term sort of strategy, okay, across businesses, and that's a common factor that we've seen. It takes time to build. The more chances you give to your business to interact with your customer, the more information you gather, the better you are able to devise strategies to retain them, right? Only difference is that based on your model, the frequency may change and the ability to sort of engage may be different at different, points of your life cycle with the customer. It's very interesting to see that, but in most cases, the rules of engagement don't change that much. Okay, you still need to segment, you still need to personalize, you still need to do your cohort analysis, and you still need to deliver engaging campaigns. Either they are micro segmented or really personalized, or they are aimed at a larger audience. So more generic, depending on the category you do your business with. So yeah, I think there are some very common practices that are emerging, and in the same practices there are divergent methods of doing it. So that's the challenge, and that's the beauty of this category for us.
Great. So as we come to the end of the of today's discussion, I would definitely basically want to come to all of you again and quiz you on basically a rapid fire kind of a round where you can just look at the top 5 buckets that you would want to choose today if you chart on a journey of planning your customer retention and customer lifetime value plan. So if you can start with Abhishek. Abhishek, what are the top 5 buckets that you would ideally want yourself and your team to focus on today? When you go forward to chart out your customer retention journey.
So I think stitching experience end to end is right. I think that I would put that as a very specific bucket, because see, right from acquisition, where the customers come from, and how do you design your CRM campaigns and your on-platform campaigns according to the kind of source of acquisition as well as the kind of behavior that the customer is doing on the platform. So that definitely having that end-to-end stitched experience, having that personalization play, right? So that probably would be one bucket. Cohortization is definitely the second bucket, right? So in terms of can you actually personalize at scale as well, right? With Jaspreet also, I think, touched upon that. You can have a micro-coding strategy, but there are certain occasions also where you will need some kind of personalization at scale sort of approach as well, right? So yeah, that would be a second bucket. Data science is a very, very key lever, having the right tools in place so that you are actually able to execute on your strategy, right? So these are also key important legs of having a very, very strong retention strategy in place, right? Being very, very relevant in terms of in top of your customer minds via different mechanisms. I think like a lot of my esteemed colleagues also touched upon that by various industry examples as well, right? So you can use that via having different pivots of that. Are there other sources of value or engagement that you can give to customers? Maybe gamification could be an answer, or say again, cohortization programs could be an answer. That is one. And having a strong team in place, obviously, right? So that is very, very important, right? So, and a good buy-in in terms of the DNA of the team as well as the DNA of the company is again very, very important to launch and execute and scale these programs as well, right? So yeah, I'm not sure these are the answers that you're looking for.
Yeah, of course. At least we have the defined buckets in place that you would be surely looking to take your journey forward. So if I can move over to Sachin and understand if there are either top 5 or top 3 buckets that you would definitely want to touch upon in your customer retention journey.
When it comes to lending products, I'll first talk about lending products and then I'll try to generalize it. When it comes to loans, right? Loans are largely commodities. When you need a loan, you need a loan. Whether that loan comes from an SBI or an HDFC or someone else, there are a few pointers, right? When you need a loan, you want to take that loan at the cheapest interest rate. You want to take the loan as soon as possible, right? You apply now and you want to get it as soon as possible, right? That's the hurry. These are two of the, I would say largest or the biggest concern for a consumer, right? And Paisa Bazaar would want to, and we at Paisa Bazaar would want to, focus all our efforts largely around these 2 points, right? We want to make sure that whatever loan you're applying for, you get that, because rejection is a big issue. Just to give you a perspective, if 100 people apply for a loan, right, be it any loan, roughly 50-55% people get rejected. There can be a number of issues. There could be credit issues, there could be profile issues, sometimes there could be a negative area issue, or any they might not have the eligibility because they have a loan running. There are n number of reasons, right? So people, when they need a loan, they want a loan, right? And I mentioned credit score. There is another area where we use credit score apart from retention. We use credit score to make a model which will, to run a model which will tell you where you have the highest chances of approval. Because when you come to Paisa Bazaar, we give you 15, 20, 30 options for a particular loan, and as a consumer you are most likely would be attracted towards the lowest interest rate, right? But your chances of approval for that particular loan might be lower than, let's say, some other loan. So as a platform, we tell you that, okay, while you are applying for this loan, your chances on the other bank is better. So if you need a loan sooner, try to apply there, right? So that is the area we want to focus. The another thing is digitization of the entire process, because this entire lending piece is broken. There is an offline leg to it. We are a digital first company. We get customers online, they compare products online, they know every details of the product online, they apply online, right? Then there was a leg where the file goes to the bank or the provider, and then they send their executives to get the signature. That this process was called KYC. Once this offline KYC was done, only then a loan is disbursed, right? So no matter how good your journey is, there is always an offline leg, which is A, causing delays, B, not giving that good of an experience if it comes to the entire digital journey, right? And this pandemic, there is a lot of work which has been done in last 1.5 years, right? Because of this pandemic, when suddenly there were lockdowns, banks were not able to send their executives to home, and suddenly every organization, be it large banks, fintechs, others, they started focusing on this pain points, right? And now they have started solving it. It has been solved up to a certain extent. I hope the future is brighter, right? So these are 2 or 3 points. We want to, make sure that whatever product you are applying for, you get that product and you get the best experience while applying and while getting that product online, because that's the only area where we can make the difference.
Great, great. On that note, I want to move to Vishal and understand from his point of view, top 2 or top 3 buckets that you would like to, definitely touch upon. In terms of customer retention for you guys.
Sure. So for me, the journey has been to, I've been part of various brands, and I've only realized that when you solve a hard problem like CLTV, which transcends all departments across an organization, right? I think the first and foremost area to focus is the right org design, because I've often seen that most of the teams are going about solving retention in a siloed manner, right? But what we've seen always work is that when we break through the walls and we actually collaborate not just for the sake of it, but in the sense that what a marketing guy is trying to, the way the marketing guy defines the cohort is the same way that the product guy is also defining his cohort and personas. I think that has the best, like it works like magic when companies or orgs are able to build themselves or wire themselves that way. So I think the first and foremost is the org design. If you don't build the right org design, you're building for failure in terms of solving for retention. The second piece is defining the KPIs right? So if an acquisition team is only bothered about acquisition and the cost of acquisition, but they are not really looking at retention metrics, D1, D7 metrics, which are very, very early on signs of whether they've acquired the right customers. So I think defining the right North Star metrics and having those definitions across teams and shared, so that if somebody is so that we don't end up solving for the wrong problems, right? If we don't end up solving for poor quality of customers. That's the second piece. I think then the third piece is, in our space, it is about all about, in the internet, it's about being fluid and agile, right? So make sure that your definitions are not set in stone. Your persona that is working for you today might not work for you tomorrow. So you have to be agile in your definitions and not really set in stone. The fourth piece is, as I said before as well, it's always good to be proactive rather than reactive, because nobody has ever been able to bring back a churned customer, but you can prevent a customer from churning, and that would lead you to much more conversions. And the fifth part is that for us in the entertainment and media space, I think it's not just the science, but also the art. So also focus on the communication, also focus on the finer aspects, because those are things that matter to users. So for us, it is also to focus on the art part of it and make it into a well-oiled machine which focuses on the science and the art.
Correct. Dinesh, your turn on the top five buckets that Jagran on what to focus on.
Yeah, I will stay from the publisher perspective because most of the panelists had already shared the other points of view.
Right.
So from the publisher point of view, I would like to say, so for us, it's an increased stickiness to your brand. So brand is definitely the key for us brand users. Turn new customer into a repeat customer. That's the secondary one which we working on. And definitely once you have a repeat customer, then repeat customer into loyal brand users. That's how it works in terms of revenue also. And I also we identify and minimize customer experience users issues as quickly as possible. We try and to approach that metrics in house as well. And the last one is kind of a user engagement and retention. Both are integral part for creating a solid foundation for any publishing house business. That's where we are working as of now. Yeah.
Gagan, over to you.
Yeah, so I'll keep it brief. First important thing is to digitize the offline experience. As I earlier spoke, a lot of work is happening on the ground. We need to put it on digital. Once they are on digital, the second part is using data and machine learning. Focus on building the right experience. So the experience of a new car buying is much better than a used car buying. So once we get the used car buyers online, give them the same experience, right? The delight experience that we have. The third is build moments of trust and authenticity with the customer, right? That's also very important. That every time we speak to a customer, we add value to the conversation and we make sure that he trusts us more. The fourth one is listen to the customer through all possible medium. We're all talking about customer lifetime, but the customer has to be a part of this, right? We can't do a boardroom strategy without thinking about actually the customer staying on the ground. So as many channels as possible, like we have to be open to feedback, right? Whether it's SMS, chat, email, phone numbers, direct calls, surveys, we have to get all the inputs. Because the moment we get the inputs in place, customer will feel happy for the next time it comes. The last one is personalization without being intrusive. Now, being mobile marketing, you have access to 24 hours of their time. But again, we have to be non-intrusive. The moment one wrong message goes at the wrong time, you're done. All the trust that you have built it for years can go wrong if the placement or the timing or the message is not right. So we have to personalize. That's the key. But non-intrusive is the very important word for us. Yeah, that's it.
Great. So Jasmeer, over to you to, basically, when we want to understand the top five kind of, takes that brands across categories should look into while devising their, customer retention plan and journey. And also, how do you as a partner to, like big organizations, look at customer retention becoming much more important in the coming year? So if we can do some future gazing, what would be your assessment of how big customer retention and customer lifetime value would be for brands?
I think first of all, before we sign off, I would like to thank again all the participants for their time and valuable inputs. All of them, of course, have put it really well in terms of what they want to focus on. And to support this from our point of view, firstly, our retention is here to stay. It's going to be one of the most important aspects for all marketeers going forward, because businesses are moving online and competition and acquisition costs is going to be fears. So, that will definitely drive people towards more focus on retention. And it's good overall because customers will get better experiences. Customers will get better crafted messages, more pertinent, more focused, because marketers will be able to segment better. And as Rana said, it's very important that not only from the outside but even from the inside, it's designed to win. All right. And that's where we partner very well with our customers through our customer success management as a program for them, where we discuss and implement use cases for them, depending on what objectives are they trying to achieve, short term, medium term, or even long term. Because I think the requirements change very frequently, but it is important that we understand the customer objectives and work with them as partners to deliver the metrics that they are aiming to achieve in whatever period of time. So, as a practice, we have QBRs with all our customers, where we go over each and every campaign that has been created. What are the KPIs? What are the success rates? What are the learnings? How do we improve them, etc., etc. So I think managing retention is not only like good advertising in the old days. If you remember, advertising agencies were an integral part of marketing teams. The more integral they become to you, the better is your brand outreach, better is your communication, more sales. So that has shifted online in a different avatar, and what we call today as customer success is basically account management, done in the right way. So all these things go hand in hand, and I'm really happy to see the type of thoughts that our panelists have brought to the table today, and I'm really happy to also to see that it's going in the right direction, and it's definitely a bright future for all digital marketing from here on. So more power to all of us.
Great. I think that's a perfect note to end today's session. So then, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us and being an audience to this August panel. I would like to thank all my panelists here who have taken out time today and helped us and enlightened us on how customer journey and customer retention for a brand and business, how important it is, and how to basically drive your business into the future, keeping the customer first approach. Until next time, thank you so much for joining us today.